Let's be real, with the internet, pornography is pretty much everywhere. It's more accessible than it has ever been, and for a lot of people, it's just a private part of their lives. But for some, its use can start to feel, well, problematic. So today, we're going to peel back the layers and look at what a whole decade of research tells us about the really deep psychological needs that might be driving this behavior.
Okay, so let's just dive right into the central question of this whole explainer. What is really going on beneath the surface here? The answer, according to a major new review of the research, might surprise you. It has a lot less to do with just sex and a whole lot more to do with a fundamental human need we all share: the need for connection.
Now, to really get that answer, we first have to wrap our heads around a huge concept in psychology called attachment theory. The best way to think about it is as a kind of foundational blueprint for how we build relationships with other people, for our entire lives.
So what is attachment really? Well, at its simplest, it's that deep, powerful emotional bond we all need pretty much to survive. It's something that starts the moment we're born with our caregivers, and it shapes our whole sense of safety and security in the world. It is a powerful, long-lasting tie. And here's the thing. Those early experiences, they don't just disappear. They actually create what researchers call an attachment style. This becomes our internal blueprint, It guides everything: our expectations, our needs, how we act, and all of our future relationships, from who we're friends with to who we fall in love with.
Now, this blueprint usually falls into one of two main buckets: a secure attachment. That means you're generally comfortable with intimacy, you trust people, you feel pretty good in relationships. But an insecure attachment, well, that's a bit different. It can be anxious, where you desperately want to be close but you're terrified of rejection. Or it can be avoidant, where you see intimacy as kind of a threat and you rely on yourself to avoid getting hurt. And it's these insecure styles that are really the key to what we're talking about today. So, how does this deep internal blueprint connect to our modern digital habits? That is the exact question our source material, a huge systematic review from the journal Geopsychiatry, wanted to figure out. Researchers dug through a full decade of studies, analyzing 10 key ones to see if any clear patterns emerged between these attachment styles and pornography use. And when they put all the pieces together, 3 themes just kept showing up again and again. First, they found this direct, undeniable link between a person's attachment style and their porn use. They also saw how other things like loneliness or even ADHD played a role. And finally, and this is a big one, they found that things like gender and whether you're in a relationship could completely change the entire picture. And what they found was just so incredibly consistent across the board. People who had insecure attachment styles, it didn't matter if it was anxious or avoidant, showed significantly higher rates of problematic pornography use. Meanwhile, the folks with that secure attachment blueprint, they consistently had the lowest rates. The connection was clear as day.
But okay, this is where the research delivered a genuine, wait, what moment, especially around gender. For men with an anxious attachment style, using porn was actually linked with higher relationship satisfaction. I know, kind of counterintuitive, right? But for anxiously attached women, it was the complete opposite. It was linked to lower satisfaction and, as one study pointed out, an increase in body image self-consciousness.
Okay, so we've seen that there's a link. The data shows it's there. But the real million-dollar question is, why? What's the mechanism? The researchers actually proposed 3 potential psychological pathways that could explain how insecure attachment can lead to problematic porn use. Let's walk through them. First, if you're someone who is terrified of being rejected or abandoned, real-life intimacy can feel, well, terrifying. Pornography can offer a substitute, a sense of connection without any of the risk. Second, it can act as what psychologists sometimes call a transitional object. Think of it like a security blanket. It's something that provides temporary comfort and soothes that feeling of loneliness. And third, fantasy itself becomes this powerful tool to meet those deep relational needs, becoming a stand-in for the real-world intimacy that just feels way too difficult or unsafe. In fact, the researchers themselves summed it up just about perfectly. They called pornography a surrogate attachment object. Basically, a stand-in for a person that can offer comfort and soothe loneliness, all without the messiness and risk of a real human connection. So, what do we do with all of this? What are the real-world takeaways from understanding this profound link between our earliest bonds and our very modern digital habits? And this is probably the most important part. The key takeaway here isn't about blame or shame. It's about understanding that for some people,
problematic porn use is actually a symptom of a much deeper, unmet psychological need for connection. And that means that to really help, you can't just focus on stopping the behavior. You have to address those underlying attachment issues, helping people build healthier ways to cope and the skills to form the secure, real-world connections that they actually truly crave.
And all of this leaves us with one last really big question to think about. This research just shines a massive spotlight on how we use technology to fill the voids in our lives. So, if our digital world can create such a compelling, risk-free substitute for real human connection, what in the world does that mean for the future of our relationships?